Welcome to the world of conversations, where we unlock the secrets to impactful, engaging, and effective communication. My name is Yaron, and I'm going to be your guide on this transformative journey.
We shall fight on the beaches.
One day, this nation will rise up. Let my people go.
The dreams and hopes of my ancestors live on in me.
Today we're going to be developing the first tool in our tool belt for how we see and engage in conversations. Before we can discuss conversations, we need to get a better idea of how each of us thinks as individuals. Imagine your universe is a room of blocks, and every idea or word or concept is like a block piece in that room. The room would be entirely identical if you moved a few blocks around, even inches, or switched the position of two blocks, had one on top of a few others, etc. When you are born, the novelty of it all means you are just discovering not one, but hundreds of new blocks every single day. New sections, new colors, so on and so forth. Everything is entirely new. Then, as you develop further, you learn forms of categorization. If each block that represents an animal is named, you can create a lineup of all the animals you know, and separate them into their own corner in the room. Some categories are more useful than others. Yummy, if you are setting yourself up on a journey of food enjoyment, or start with Z, if you have set up for yourself a picture book of the alphabet. The funny looking animals, the farm animals, you get it. A child reaches binary categorization. You could think of this as yes or no, and each new object they see now becomes a question. Animal? And everything they see now either goes in that stack in that corner, or it doesn't, meaning there are things that are animal and things that are not. Is that a car, you may ask the child? And if it is a goat, hopefully they'll respond no. Nevertheless, you learn how to separate them. This is called the stage of what for the child. As we age, we learn that some blocks can connect. Think just as ideas are logically connected, so too blocks can be connected. But usually, especially early on, not all our connections are equally useful. For example, most, if not all babies, have I cry because something is off. That's pretty useful. This is the stage of development that a child learns questions. Why is the child expressing their understanding that pieces can connect, and they are looking for connecting pieces? For example, the sky is blue. Why? You should eat your veggies. Why? Etc., etc. They're looking for pieces that connect to the pieces they already know. The why. As a child, you are in such a state of absorption and non-judgmental behavior that you don't challenge. You'll even take the discovery of non-truths and bad connections as its own revelation. But don't worry, just as we create a space to make connections, we quickly let go of old connections and create a new. We were all the child who thought sky meant anything above before learning about the ceiling. We are that child who has tried continuously to stick a round shape in the square until finally realizing it belonged elsewhere. There's a lesson in there somehow. Oh yeah, you can be wrong, and that's okay. But soon you learn that just because your dad's face is not invisible, because they are covered with his hands, so too, presence, as a concept, is not equal to face. So now that we have an understanding that some blocks connect to each other, some can be on top of each other, there are more useful connections and separations, etc., etc., we can even learn that blocks can belong to multiple categories simultaneously. Now, what do I mean by that? A cat can be gray and an animal. The horse can be an animal and brown. Brown and green can both be colors, but neither are animal at all. Ultimately, as we begin to understand each of these divisions in our mind, they're going to be useful for better understanding how others are coming to their ideas and conclusions in their own world. Now that we've established that each individual engages with many tools to establish and relate block pieces in their own world, I want to give you a definition for conversation moving forward. You might be wondering, what does all this have to do with conversation? Well, a conversation is me leaving my room, the place of all my ideas, cities of complex connected thoughts, blocks, artwork, safety. And the same is going for my conversation partner. They are leaving their concept of reality. Together, we are now entering a new room together. Now, why do we have to enter a new room at all? Well, if we don't enter a new room, that's a monologue or a therapist dynamic. One of you is exclusively entering into the room and the experience of the other. Now, let's go back to this new room. Each of you has just left your model of the universe, and you're stepping out of it into a temporary, new, neutral room where you're going to be building together. You will learn that arguments are part of building as much as agreement is, but instead of building alone with all its perks of comfort as well as its limitations, you now have a new set of eyes, a new brain, a new mouth, and a new set of ears. A successful conversation has each of you walking away with either new blocks of ideas you didn't know, new structures of thought, categorizations, etc., etc. A conversation has you working together to build something that neither of you should have been able to create alone. You have now unlocked your first tool of conversation. Now, let's use it. Let us walk through a potential scenario. You have two people, Abe and Dahlia, and Abe is a vegetarian while Dahlia is a meat eater. Unfortunately, this is a classic scenario where people think there is no room for conversation. Equipped with our new tool, though, let us see if we can change that. The first thing we should ask ourselves is, what are the potential blocks they hold in their respective worlds? Let's take a look behind the scenes. Abe. For him, he pretty strongly believes that he's not going to be changing his diet. But for him, food is connected to taste, is connected to his ethics, and ease, friends, and identity. For Dahlia, she's also not planning to change her diet. Food's taste is also very important to her, but she also relates in terms of religion and friends. Now we can look and ask, what are the potential blocks they can discuss? Well, let's play out a conversation. They start talking, and pretty early on they realize that, like most people, neither of them are planning to change their diet from this conversation. Then they discuss about how food needs to taste good, and they pretty much agree on that. And then Dahlia starts to mention about how important it is to have ease of access in her kitchen when she's cooking. This makes Abe think about his friend who's a cook, and his birthday is coming up, so he now has a better perspective on a good gift he can give him. Ultimately, later on in their lives, both of them are going to have a dinner party, and each of them has taken from this conversation something for their future and something for that dinner party. Today we've learned the foundational tool of the individual block world, a powerful analogy for understanding how we see the world ourselves and how others see the world, so that we can better understand how conversations go. Remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss out on our next episode. The journey to mastering conversations is just beginning, and I'm thrilled to have you along for the ride. See you next week.